what do you think Arnold does when he's having a bad day? He's not going to sit there and ruminate about it. He's going to go to his place where he is the master of his domain, and that's obviously the gym, right? That's his territory. And it's the same idea that Pressfield wants to impart upon us to energize into our creative work. Hey everybody, Maximus here for the 180-day 180, and we are back today to finish up our exploration of Steven Pressfield's The War of Art. The War of Art was broken down into 3 books, and we did book 1 and book 2 already. And what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the top 10 secrets from Steven Pressfield's book 3 of The War of Art. So book 3 of The War of Art is really about taking this journey to the next level, and it's titled Beyond Resistance, the Higher Realm. So the first secret that we're going to share today is called Summon the Creative Spirit. And what this is all about is uncovering the transformative power of invoking the muse before we engage in creative activity. And Steven Pressfield, he quotes the Greek philosopher Xenophon, who suggests that every time we begin a creative endeavor, we make a nod to the divine, and we offer up our efforts to something greater than ourselves. And this sacred act isn't about superstition, it's about setting the stage for inspiration. And this is something that I've tried myself, and this is something that I'm doing right now as I engage in my creative work. And whether that terminology works for you, the gods, the muse, the angels of our better nature, there's something profoundly moving about dedicating your work to a higher cause. It's about surrendering the ego and opening up to a conduit of creativity that feels otherworldly. And to conclude this particular chapter, when Pressfield talks about how he invoked the muse every day when he went to work, finally, he was able to complete his first novel. And he went to one of his friends and he said, "Hey, I finished my novel." And his friend said, "Great job. Start the next one today." And so that's what it's about, is just continuing that battle every day in and day out. So that's secret number 1, summon the creative spirit. So secret number 2 of Steven Pressfield's The War of Art, I call understand the ego and the self. And this is next level depth psychology here. But Pressfield believes that angels make their home in the self, whereas resistance makes its home in the ego. So the self wishes to create, the self wishes to evolve, but the ego likes things just the way they are. And so it's this cosmic tug of war inside us between the ego and the self. The ego clings to the physical, the fear of death, the illusion of separateness, and is obsessed with survival in denying the divine. The self, on the other hand, the self sees through the mirage. The self knows that death is but a transition, that time and space are stages for the play of life, where all souls are interconnected. So the self operates from a field of love and sees the divine in every speck of the cosmos. So Pressfield guides us to lean into the self, to transcend the limited ego and embrace the boundless essence of who we are. So that means it's a shift from survival into enlightenment, from fear to love, from division to unity. So that's secret number 2, understand the ego and the self. Secret number 3 is continuing along these same lines. And secret number 3 is to dismantle the ego and experience the self. And so here, Pressfield gets real with us about the language of intoxication. Isn't it interesting that we use words like wasted, obliterated, wrecked to talk about when we are under intoxication? And we use these words because it represents an obliteration of the ego. And it's that ego's desire to actually self-destruct on its way to reach the self. And so we chase after this destruction of the ego in various different ways in our life. And we can do this in positive ways, like the negative ways is what I just described, right? The positive ways, fasting, prayer, meditation, vision quests. But you know what? Some people can obliterate the ego at a rave just the same. So that's also in that spectrum of ego dismantling activities. And all of these activities, including dancing at a rave, are seeking a higher level of consciousness, of something beyond the material, right? So the ego fears this because the ego knows that if you're able to transcend the material, the ego has been dethroned from its space of ruling over our actions. And so Pressfield writes that the ego hates this because it knows that these are souls waking up to a call, and that call comes from a plane that is nobler than the material one, and from a source that is more powerful than the physical. So the more that we awaken to the self, the less we need the ego's limited perspective. And as artists, this awakening is crucial because it is the self that calls us to create from a place of deeper truth and connection. So secret 3, dismantle the ego and experience the self. Moving on to secret 4, and this is a really big one. A lot of people, including myself, really struggle with this one. And this is about confronting fear of your greatness, right? So we talked in the past about confronting fear, but now this is really the master fear, the mother of all fears, Pressfield says. And this is the fear of our own greatness. So Pressfield strips down our common fears to reveal this fear, this master fear, the fear of success. It's not about the terror of poverty or the ridicule that you receive from doing something stupid in front of your friends, but the profound dread that we are powerful beyond measure. So confronting this fear is so important on the creative warrior's journey because it has to do with leaving the familiar shores of our old self. It suggests an evolution into something beyond the ordinary, and that's profoundly terrifying to us. This is the fear that shakes the very foundation of our being because it calls us to live up to the greatness that has been granted to us from the divine, that we can sense lurks within us. And it's the fear that we must confront if we are to truly transform into the artists and the humans that we are meant to be. So that is secret number 4. Confront your fear of greatness. Secret number 5, this is all about the authentic self. And this secret is to discover your authentic self. Pressfield starts this chapter by really shattering the myth of the blank slate, the tabula rasa, this idea that we come into this world ready to have all of society and our parents and the world impress itself upon us to shape our personality. Instead, what Pressfield argues is that we come into this world with a personality intact. This means that when you accept this idea that each of us come into this world with an individuated soul, then you start to understand that there is an inherent destiny that we have, and that our path is to discover that destiny. So each of us arrives in this world as a unique soul on a specific path. It's not about molding ourselves into something we're not, but about discovering the essence of who we really are. Our life's work isn't to craft a persona or a brand, right? It's to uncover the truth of our being and to step into that reality fully. This isn't about self-help fluff, right? Remember, we're not striving to be this imagined perfect self, but to be authentically, unashamedly the person we are always meant to be. So our task is to discover our authentic self. That's secret number 5. Secret number 6, this is all about the distinction that Pressfield sets up between the notion of territory and hierarchy. So secret number 6 is choose mastery over competition. So what do we mean by that? So it's like choosing between living in a world that's defined by competition or one that is nurtured by personal growth. This is the choice to be made between the world of hierarchy and the world of territory. So Pressfield illustrates this by describing how in the animal kingdom, where survival hinges upon understanding your place, and that in the modern world, most of us are trapped within the construct of hierarchy, right? So we're constantly judging our worth against others. Maybe we work at a company that obviously has a very clear hierarchy that's written down on paper, but just in life also with social media, all of these things are promoting a kind of hierarchy in our life that we're always looking up or looking down. But the problem is we're never looking inward. It's where the attention needs to go. So when we talk about territory versus hierarchy, that's where magic happens. It's our personal domain of mastery and fulfillment. So what is your territory is the question to be asking, independent of any pecking order, right? So it's where our investment of love and effort pays us back in well-being, not in societal accolades, but rather in profound personal satisfaction. It's an essential reminder for every creative soul to seek your territory, claim it with your work, and let it sustain you. So that's secret number 6. Choose mastery over competition. Secret number 7. This is what I call honor creation as a sacred territory. Pressfield speaks to our innermost being when he says that creation is a sacred territory, like a child being born of the mother. The art that we create comes through us, but is not of us. I remember witnessing this with the birth of my own children, how humbling the experience is, because we've become a vehicle for the creative spark that's coming through. And this is the same sort of idea to keep in mind when it comes to this creative warfare. So this process is humbling, it's divine, it's mysterious. And as creators, we're simply conduits for something greater than ourselves, something that can only be honored by doing the work for its own sake, right? Not to gain approval in some kind of pecking order. So when we create, we're not just making something, we are aligning with the cosmos, with forces greater than us that we cannot fully comprehend. It's not about the ego's craving for recognition, but about bearing witness to the unfolding of life itself. We must approach our work with reverence as an act of service, a form of prayer to the mysteries of creation. That's all about honoring creation as sacred territory. Secret number 7. Now, we're moving on to secret number 8. And what I call this one is find your center, claim your territory, right? So for secret number 8, Pressfield guides us into recognizing where our true orientation needs to be. On those days where we feel off kilter, do we call up a series of friends, seeking validation, seeking reassurance from others? Or do we turn to a place where we can find our center through our craft, right? And Pressfield uses Arnold Schwarzenegger as an example here. And he asks the question, what do you think Arnold does when he's having a bad day? He's not going to sit there and ruminate about it. He's going to go to his place where he is the master of his domain. And that's obviously the gym, right? That's his territory. And it's the same idea that Pressfield wants to impart upon us to energize into our creative work, find our territory, our creative territory, and become a master of that specific territory where hierarchy, where pecking order, where none of those things matter. Only the work matters in the realm of the territory. So Pressfield sets up, how do you know if you're operating hierarchically or territorially? He asks this question, if you're the last person on planet Earth, would you still do the thing that you're trying to do right now? Would you still be writing that book? Would you still be going after this thing? And that's a very important question to ask. If the question is yes, if I was the last person on earth, I would still be pursuing this thing, then congratulations, you're working territorially. If the answer is no, you're working hierarchically. So this isn't about ego or accolades when you're working in the realm of territory, right? It's about essence. It's about being drawn to the work because of who you are. This realization is extremely powerful. It's not about how we're perceived by others, but it's about how we perceive and engage with the work. Huge distinction there. So that is number 8, and that's all about finding your center, claiming your territory. Secret number 9, offer your labor to the divine. And we've been talking about the divine, the gods, and all these things, and you've got to be okay with that sort of language, obviously, to really get into this work. But Pressfield makes no bones about it, that he is truly invoking the divine and suggests that we do the same. So in Secret 9, we once again return to the Bhagavad Gita. And I talked about this in the previous video, talking about how we have the right to our labor, but we do not have the right to the fruit of our labor. And what this means is really the only thing that we can own on this earth is the work, is the labor that we put in. And what the world thinks of it and what the world is going to do about that, that's for someone else to deal with. That's not for us to deal with. We don't own that. The only thing that we get to own is the work itself. But now Pressfield takes this idea to even higher levels. So whereas you can either be operating territorially, operating hierarchically, there's a third path, which your work is a offering to the divine itself, so that your work takes on an even higher dimension of meaning and purpose. So it's a devotional act to the divine. It's not ours to begin with, right? It comes through us, a cosmic gift, just like the baby coming through the mother, right? This perspective transforms our labor into a meditation, a spiritual practice of the divine mystery. It's a reminder that every breath, every heartbeat, every creation is a part of a vast, unknowable mystery. And our truest act is to honor that with our labor, with our work. So that's Secret 9. Offer your labor to the divine. And now the final secret from book 3 of Stephen Pressfield's War of Art. And he calls this the artist's life. I call it just do it. And so this all boils down to action. And to be an artist, you must create. You can't be an artist and not do art, right? So if you're destined to do something and you don't do that thing, it's more than just a personal loss. It's actually an insult to the divine. It's a loss that the world must bear, that your children must bear, that the people around you must bear if you're not able to do the creative work, to do the work that you were meant to do here on this earth plane. Pressfield charges us with this solemn duty, which is to share our unique gifts. It's not for ego. It's a service to the world. It's a fulfillment of a divine mandate. With every creation, we move humanity 1 millimeter forward on the path towards the divine, right? So Pressfield implores us, and I do too, to don't hold back when it comes to your creative production, your creative endeavors. Move forward freely and fearlessly. Your art, your work could be the very thing that nudges humanity closer to the sublime. So that's secret number 10. Just do it. So I hope you enjoyed listening to this as much as I enjoyed doing the reading and re-experiencing this amazing book, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Definitely check it out and subscribe, and I'll see you on our next adventure together. This is Maximus signing out.